Hello, humans! We're back for another episode of Thurstatoes. For the very observant of you, we have a guest, and for the for the people who continue to be observant, we're also missing Nem tonight. Ben, I'll get you to introduce yourself in a little bit. Um, kind of give people time to show up if people are going to show up. But yeah, Nem apparently he said his air conditioner. To be fair, I'm like, maybe I'm not supposed to tell everyone this. I'm like, but he said his air conditioner exploded. so he's too busy being hot to come onto the show tonight, basically.
I didn't
So
know they could explode, and now I have a whole new fear
and and
to
like
just worry about.
well, this is the thing. I'm like, when you say explode, like I picture like full like explosion, like little like
Yeah, I
mushroom
mean,
cloud kind of thing in his neighborhood.
well,
But
otherwise you
I
would
assume
say
he's not a
caught on
Christian.
fire or is on the fritz. But I think when you say explode, it was a thing.
Yeah, like it's in pieces. Like there's shrapnel and carnage around the
Yeah.
yard. So yes, hopefully he's hopefully he's back soon once he gets new air conditioning or something. But yeah, I'm gonna do a bit of a recap of last week. Last week we were learning how to draw faces, my kryptonite. Um, obviously we need way more practice. I'm gonna show everyone my very like limited thing, and we were going over like we're just following some books and stuff and their recommendations and going over the Loomis method for heads and stuff. I feel like that's going to be very helpful
Oh,
for me. I don't know, but do you know
big
the
fan of
Loomis method?
influence.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yes, I my one thing I still collect is old books of old illustrators from turn of the century up to Rockwell '60s and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And back before you could find anything at any time, when I was in college, I would just scour used bookstores in Cleveland looking for How to Draw the Loomis. God, I think that's the name of the book. I can't remember exactly his book, but that was just my holy grail. And I finally found it in like 2004. This was right before you could just like, we would now just go on eBay and you'd find it in 2 seconds and it would be at your
Yeah.
door in 3 days. But that's one of my prized possessions, actually.
Yeah. And does he just do like I assume he teaches more things, right? Like does he
He
do anatomy
was,
in general or is like he like
yeah,
the
yeah.
face guy?
No, he did a lot of stuff. He was a figure drawing for all it's worth is his most famous book. It just popped into my head.
Okay.
But that's his big one. He also did I think just how to illustrate. So he was a teacher. I think he was a teacher, but he also was just a classical illustrator. So he'd do advertisements and things for magazines, stories, things like that. Like Rockwell or Leyendyke or any of those guys did. But is most
Yeah.
well known for his drawing books and being a big influence on Alex Ross.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, fair. Yeah, I found because like I don't know about you, because like you seem like you're a seasoned artist and draw people. But it's like, but I've like always it's always just been something I avoided, and like again, like this
Mhm.
show, like this the whole point of this was like is like encourage myself to draw and like make a comic, and like I started with potatoes. I'm like I can draw a potato. But
It's a
then
good place to start.
yeah, but then my problem was I made the mistake of putting potatoes in a human world, so now I have to draw. I'm getting to the point where I have to draw humans, which
Oh,
not
so
as
you get a
big of a
chance just to go all
fan.
potato and
Yeah,
just breeze
yeah.
through
I
this
should
thing.
have. I should have just had like potatoes be in a potato world where like humans didn't
Hmm.
exist, but I made mistakes.
Oh well.
So now that I'm drawing like the second issue, so I'm just like, oh, fine. Like in the first issue, there is a human, but there was one, and I like feel like
Hmm.
somehow I was able to like he didn't have to be overly dynamic. It's more like a narrator. It's almost more of like a prologue kind of issue.
Hmm.
Whereas like the next one, it's more like there's like these two heroes and they're like more dynamic and all that stuff. So I need to like learn expressions and anatomy and
All that stuff. Yeah.
all this garbage, all this sort of BS
Well,
that
I
you have
think
to learn
it's
to be an artist.
yeah. Well, I think it's good to do, especially for writers. I'm on a Discord with a bunch of other indie creators, and they're mostly writers. And I know it's frustrating for them to, oh, my artist is being slow, or, I don't have money to hire somebody to do this, or I have all these ideas and it's going to take me years to make them happen. And I would be, like, just going nuts with that if I had to just kind of just wait to make my comic happen because I can sit down and write and draw it and do it all myself.
Yeah.
But I've always thought that there's a lot of options out there with, especially if you're just going to use like Adobe Illustrator. There's so many stock resources. You could probably, I think, and it depends on your story, but I think there's probably a style a lot of people could kind of develop that isn't necessarily, Jim Lee or John Buscema or some of the, classic comic artists rendered and all that stuff. And you can still tell a story that way. So I always wondered why more people didn't try and do that. Just like, how can you find a style that works and is appealing and tells your story, and you don't have to wait for somebody like me to draw it.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's kind of the problem. So like, again, part of the reason I started the show is like, so many people come to us, like, because like we're also a publisher, and they're like, I want to do a comic, but I can't draw, or I can't afford an artist. So it's just like, well, then you're gonna have to raise some money, which is like typically crowdfunding and stuff. And they're like, it's a big daunting task. But you're 100% right. Like, I think people look at comics and they look at like Batman or Spider-Man and like these very like realistic, like there is a very certain kind of style where it's like it's not quite like life, but it's like pretty close. Whereas like if you like again, if you look more in like comics targeted towards like young kids and stuff, like it gets much more cartoony. But then I always use there's a web comic. I always use an example, and I always forget the letters. I think it's XKCD. I don't know if you've heard.
Oh yeah, I know what that is. Yeah.
Yes, it's like all Stickman, and the guy has like at least two graphic novels out. It's like wide, like hugely popular. Like who it is. So yeah, I always like use that. It's like you can tell a story of Stickman. Like I don't even think his Stickman have facial expressions. He's just clever.
Yeah, you can just be smart about it, and depending on your. I know those are usually like 3-panel eggs, kind of. They're not. I don't know if there's.
It's not like I don't think it's like a full story. But even like I think like, have you ever read? Do you know The Oatmeal? Like he's the guy who does like Exploding Kittens and all that stuff too. Like a lot of his stuff is kind of shorter too, but he also has some longer stuff that tells stories, and he has a very distinct style. Like especially for his humans, like almost like to like I'd almost describe them as like grotesque.
No, they're kind of weird, and they look like they're like they just woke up, kind of. I don't know how to describe it, but I know what you're talking about.
Well, they're usually like very like round balls of like lumpy flesh, kind of.
Yeah, they're kind of melting or something.
Like he has a style, but again, like he is like full like, and he's a webtoonist, I guess. I don't know if that's the word for webtoonist. But yeah, again, he like has this like very like unique style, and like I don't know anyone else. Or again, it's not like I don't know everyone out there, but I'm unaware with my limited knowledge of anyone else who draws like him. So it's very neat.
No, it's there's a lot you can do, I think, with especially with digital stuff. You want to do it, but it doesn't even need to be that. That people think you have to just go to art school and go through the whole thing. But if you found a simple style that can work for even, I think, serious stories. I'm really shocked that more people don't do that, especially since I know so many writers who are just sitting there climbing up the walls, like, because artists, we get sick or we get, we have to do other stuff to pay the bills, and then it takes them longer than it drives them nuts to have to wait. Like, you could do something here. I don't know.
I will say, as a writer learning to draw, I'm very slow. I'm not faster than like if I was paying someone to do what I'm doing right now, they'd be done. They'd be done already. But it's not about finishing, or like, yes, in theory, it's a little bit about finishing, but it is about like learning and actually like creating something and having fun with it. So
I agree. Yeah.
Like I try to not put too much pressure on it, but of course I do like having finished products and sharing stuff out there. Okay, before I get you to introduce,
so I can relate to that.
Fair. Okay, I'm just going to do quick housekeeping stuff. For anyone watching or anyone who will be watching later, please like and subscribe. We love having our channel grow and being able to share our different shows and stuff with people. This is exclusive to this show. If you go to asapimagination.com at checkout, you can type in potato. You get 20% off of all of your merch. So definitely check out that. I will, just because this is a horror show and they're horror based and we're live, viewer discretion is advised. So the show is intended for audiences 10 plus. So if you're younger than that, get off YouTube. Go tell your parents what you're doing. But yeah, just your discretion advisor. And if you want your kids to watch it, maybe give it a preview first. And then tonight, with our special guest, doing a prompt tonight. So we're going to be drawing new Warriors fan art. He has mentioned it should be potato based. But anyone who wants to draw along, feel free to just, no obligation to make it potatoes. But I think I'm going to make it. Are you making it potato?
Oh, once you told me I didn't have to, I kind of planned not to, but I think I can integrate
you can
potato element. I got an idea for this. I think this
Again,
guy's going to draw it in 90s fashion, has a skateboard, and maybe we can do something there, a potato themed.
Fair. Like I said, the lazy part of being like, I want to draw people tonight. I'm like, he said potatoes, I'm going to do potatoes. I like how you talked me into it and I talked you out of it. But yeah, this seems like a great time for you to tell everyone who you are.
All right. So my name is Benjamin Morse. I'm a writer, artist, pre-press. I do everything in my own comics, except print them out, I guess. I have 2 books I produced. One's called We Are Scarlet Twilight, and that's going to be launching on Kickstarter sometime this year. It's going to be the second part of the story, and it's basically a combination of some older stories that are DC and Marvel, like Secret Wars and Crisis on Infinite Earths, but it's as if they had been done in the 1940s. So I'm kind of taking some newer things that we're all used to and some old stuff from, Golden Age of comics and just mix them together and having some fun with it. My other comic is a science fiction action book that's kind of a throwback to Star Wars and some of your 80s properties like G.I. Joe and Transformers, called August. And that's out from Red 5 Comics. You can get that from them, and I'm going to be working on more of that hopefully later this year. That's pretty much what I do.
Cool.
Oh, I should mention one other thing. I co-host a indie comics podcast on Sunday nights with a guy named Joey Galvez at Geek Collective, where we just have different indie creators on and talk about their books. So check me out there too if you are free on Sunday nights.
Cool. Good to know. I know a few people with Kickstarters coming up. And do you guys book far in advance?
Not too far. I have somebody, I think I don't know. I write it down and I forget about it. I have somebody this week, and we have room on the 1st. And then I think we're pretty free for a couple weeks after that. But we always throw some extra people on too. So yeah, shoot them over. Yeah,
fair. I'm just trying to think, because we have a Kickstarter currently. So talk about your Kickstarter first. So you guys, I put it in the comments and it's below in the description of the video. I will mention we still have our Kickstarter. I told Ben, I'm like, oh, send me your Kickstarter so I can be all efficient with it. Meanwhile, I don't have mine anywhere. Thankfully, I'm logged in with yours.
I know how that goes. It's so nice to be not the person putting the links up and putting the things in the bottom of the screen. I have this reflex. I'm trying to do it, and I realize I don't have to. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah, fair enough. I have, of course, I'm logged into the wrong account as well. Normally I'm a collaborator, or I'm my personal one. Because I was backing some comics and I couldn't do it on our company one. I'm like, whoops.
Oh, yeah.
It's just oopsies, I just backed a whole bunch of comics on our company one. All right, here is ours. I will throw that in there as well. I think that we have. So do you know when yours is coming out?
Well, I'm not sure. I kind of wanted to. I'm still fulfilling the last one. I've got 10 books left, I think, to mail out. It's the first one I've ever fulfilled on my own, so that's taken a little longer than I had hoped. I hope people are pretty patient so far, so I'm lucky in that regard. I also kind of waiting to see. It seems like it's been a rough year for comic Kickstarters, and I kind of had an idea. I mentioned my other book, August. I've been playing ever since the pandemic. I started playing D&D with some friends on Saturday nights over Zoom, and I kind of thought I've always had a little bit of trouble getting eyes on August, even though it's kind of my favorite book. And started looking at. I had talked to some of the creators on Explain Yourself that are also very big into creating RPG books and 5e expansions, stuff like that, and thought that might be a cool thing to do. And it seems like there's a big market for that at Kickstarter. So I'm kind of toying with the idea of maybe switching gears and trying that first and seeing how it goes. So it might just be something where I wake up one day and launch it, but we'll see. Kind of planning out which is the best thing to do first.
Yeah, well, and I think that's the thing too. I know, I don't know if it's a recent thing, but I know a lot of people who like run campaigns just across multiple platforms,
Hmm.
like sometimes at the same time, sometimes back to back, and like it seems like people, and again with varying success of like which one you do first, and so, like there it feels like there's no sure thing, sure way to do any of it. So like
Yeah.
just experiment stuff. It's like every time you go try and sell a book, you never know. Like I wish I had some like divine way of knowing like how to sell my books to people. And I'm always trying to crack that code, but it's just like I like it's like I know sometimes people walk away like at conventions, people will like walk away and then I'm without a book. And then afterwards I'm
Hmm.
like, oh, I wonder if I'd said this if they had would have bought that book.
Hmm.
And same thing, I know with like campaigns, you're like, oh, what if we had like this stretch goal, or like maybe if I'd worded my pitch differently or done a different trailer. Like there's always the second guessing with marketing. Like I don't know. I can see why people kind of just who have money, just like someone else do this. Someone
Oh
else
yeah,
who has
that would be
marketing
nice.
experience.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we all decided to go into comics, and
Yeah.
a little tough to
Are
pull
you
that
are
off
you not
sometimes.
are you not diving into your Scrooge McDuck pool of gold coins?
No, not so far. I'm hoping it's right around the
Oh.
corner. But yeah, we'll see. I've always kind of thought like, when I was doing my first Kickstarter, I was reaching out to people doing the board games and stuff that if they did kind of pulp superheroes and stuff like that, if it was a good fit, hoping to cross promote. And I never heard back from any. Well, either I said I got a no, or I would never hear back. But I thought, there's so many people over in games. There's got to be a way to drag. I mean, they're superhero games too. There's got to be a way to kind of drag some of these people back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just always thinking about stuff like that, and one of these days maybe something will work, and then we'll get the aforementioned pile of gold to jump around in.
Yeah. One day, I feel like everyone's just like, "What does success mean to you?" It's like a pool of gold.
Yeah, that's pretty
I'm
much
a,
the
I'm
thing
a
you find when you
very,
look it up.
yeah, a very realistic goals. You know how you're like those like smart goals, where I actually forget what they're like specific, measurable. Trying to think of what the all the acronym for that was. Um, but yeah, I can't remember it all. Timing something, but yeah, I feel like just a pool of gold. Very very generic, no timeline. Um, but yeah, I was pulling up. I need some references for these characters.
Oh
So
yeah,
you get
I've got a few
you get to
pages up here
explain.
too.
You get to talk about the new Warriors. So how come you picked the
Okay.
new Warriors? I'm curious.
Because I thought they were little. I love them. I loved them when I was a kid, but I also feel like they're a little silly, and I thought they might be more fun to draw than, I don't know, Batman or Dracula or whatever else might be a more down the middle pick for comics.
Yeah,
Um,
fair enough.
so a little background: these were some heroes that were made up in the '90s to kind of be a new super team at Marvel that would, appeal to not teenagers necessarily, but like probably 11, 12-year olds, which is about what I was then.
Yeah,
And they caught on pretty well. And I guess everybody in my like 5-year window of comics reading really loves them. So every now and then Marvel tries to bring them back or do something with them. It never really is caught on. It's kind of a nostalgia thing. But I think the real thing that stops them from being popular in the long term is just what made them lovable in the 90s. Is they're kind of silly. They're just steeped in 90s, teenager conventions. They have skateboards. They bad haircuts, the costumes are cheesy, and if you change that and update it, it's really not as much fun. You lose something that was kind of part of the appeal. So I thought it would just be a fun bunch of characters to pick from, because they are a little bit silly,
yeah, fair enough.
at least
Cool.
to most
So
people. I take them very seriously.
very serious. All my stuff is super serious. But yeah, so like know very little about them, so I am going off of like Wikipedia references here. If I was, I forget. I know there's like more of like the Marvel. Is it? I don't know if it's called Marvelpedia. There's all the other like wiki things, but I'm gonna
Oh yeah, yeah.
add our stuff to the stage. Just because I'm penciling and my penciling never seems to show up great, I'm making you. I told you I would put
Okay,
you up here front and center for everything, but I assume
fair
your
enough.
sketch will probably show up better at the start. So I'm
Okay,
letting you do your thing.
all
I
right.
guess I should
Let me
still make my
readjust my
camera.
windows here a little bit, and get to drawing. So I've been almost all digital since I kind of got into the workforce. And this is a program called Expressions, which is all vector based, and that's the thing I like about it.
Oh
I
yeah.
started using this at the illustration studio I worked at when I got out of school, and just really grew to like it. It was, I think, intentionally or intended to be kind of a alternative to Macromedia Flash, which was, I mean, it gives you an idea how long ago it was.
Yeah.
Microsoft bought it, and I think wanted to fold some of the features into one of their products that ended up going nowhere, and it just it's for free on the internet now. But we had bought a few licenses at our place, and I started using it. And the reason I did is I was doing, when I got out of school and got hired there, a lot of what I do was technical art for, brochures, or, the specifications that come with your gas heater or your Mill and faucet or something like that. And I've
Yeah.
never had very steady hands. So it was always hard for, I couldn't really, that was fine for painting, but, and producing really fine detail, but for line art, it was tough. And when the other people at the studio used this, I thought that is probably the thing I should do. So it just kind of is what I fell into, and been using it ever since.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, I don't know many because I feel like so many people. To be fair, I only really know indie people, but I feel like most people are using like I guess Adobe, which I know a lot of people are phasing them out because Adobe has kind of leaned a little into the AI.
Yeah,
But I know a lot of people do like Clip Studio as well. Then there's like
yeah,
Procreate and stuff.
that's
Like I work on
probably,
Procreate, I guess.
yeah, Procreate or Clip Studio Pro is, I'm sorry, it's late for here. It's probably when you use some horrible day when this program doesn't load in like Windows 12.
Yeah.
Um, that's going to be a tough day for me, but that's probably where this goes. But yeah,
having to relearn a new program.
oh, I know it's gonna be a nightmare. I can't.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to that day.
So that was when I started this show, I wanted to like learn how to do like draw a comic. But it was very much like um I thought that the first thing I was going to do is make a something
Hmm.
digital. Because I'm like, basically on the web too, I'm like 3 panels. I'm like, I can do 3 panels. But the problem with that is you have to learn how to use software as well. And like, so like I
Yeah,
already like kind of know how to draw, but then it's like, but then I have to learn how to draw. Like it's not just learning how to draw, it's learning how to draw digitally. So it's like a whole different thing on top of that. So that was kind of like still my goal. And then like I came across basically this YouTube video where this guy was talking about like doing mini comics and making zines, and I'm just like, this is what I'm doing now. It's like I'm no longer doing that other thing. That other thing was a terrible idea.
yeah. It's such a pain to learn new stuff, and I guess I know some tablets now are a lot better than they used to be as far as mimicking some of the stuff you expect to run into when you're actually drawing. But
Yeah.
I tried with the tablet. I mean, the tablets I had access to back in when I was kind of 2002 or three, really just deciding as a professional artist that needed to be pretty good at to make a living doing it. Um,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, kind of figuring out, all right, what am I going to be doing here? And how am I going to find a way to be able to do things as good as somebody that's been doing it for 20, 30 years, and quickly and all that stuff that you really need to, worry about. So I was trying tablets, and the ones I had weren't very good, but it just, I was like, yeah, this is not for me. So,
Yeah.
um, so yeah, this ended up being my solution, and I'm doing all this actually with a mouse.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So
That
this
must feel
program,
to
the
me
cool,
that almost feels like you're painting with paint then. Just
a
doing
little
MS
bit.
Paint over here.
Oh,
Yeah,
no,
no, that's crazy.
actually, I started doing that when I was a kid, so that's always fun too.
I
The
feel
nice
like we
thing
all
about
did, but
this,
like no one ever made anything good with Microsoft Paint, did they?
I felt like it was good at the time. I was like, this is as good as, like when you're a kid,
Oh.
you think like you do a little bit better than you did the day before, and you're like, I think I'm as good as like the actual comic book artist now. Like I'm pretty
Oh,
sure
you were
any day now they're
confident.
gonna, yeah. And it's like
I
you just
I had
don't
no
quite
delusions
know.
over my Microsoft Paint skills.
No, I thought I was on to great things, but it took a little longer than I had hoped. The
Yeah.
nice thing about this program, what I really like about it is, if you kind of look, you get these perfect curves. And you can set it not to do this, but basically you get these control points that give you the perfect curve in between the points you pick, and you can, adjust it so it either does or doesn't do that if you want a hard corner. And that's what really got me, it sold me on doing this program when they had all bought it. My boss at that place was an older illustrator. He was about 60, and I was watching him do a illustration for a children's book of the flying like a jumbo jet, and he was drawing the line on the top of the jet, which was on like 11 by 17. So it was a big thing. And this was a really hard line to do. He just got his marker out and kind of whipped it. He lined it up a little bit. It wasn't like he just thoughtlessly did it, but he kind of just moved his arm across. It was perfect. It had just the right amount of like thick and thin variation. I said, Jerry, how do you do that? And he said, well, I practiced every morning for 20 minutes to do kind of just this. And about 5 years ago, and he was about 60 at the time, he said, I finally started to get it. And I thought, that's fine in like the 1970s and 80s, but I'm not going to be employable for 30 years, being, I don't have 30 years to be like good. I got to be good now. And there's computers and I have to find a way to do it. So that was kind of my, how I found my way there to doing stuff like that. I do some traditional stuff now. I'm kind of getting back into it because I'd like to have some originals to sell, and it's been fun.
Yeah.
And actually watching my wife draw, she's also an artist, on her tablet, I can tell it kind of made some things click for me in terms of inking. I think reasons I've never been able to do very well at that is I was always looking at it like I'm still drawing. And it's really more like when you're painting your house and you're trying to get like that perfect line on a corner or something, and you kind of have to, move your arm like, all right, if I come at it this way, I think I can hold it steady. And that's really more what you're doing. And I noticed that's kind of what she did sometimes when she drew. And I thought, I've been thinking about this wrong. And that was a big jump for me. Made it a lot easier to get something sort of semi-usable out of my inking.
Yeah. I know, like, and I don't think I don't know if I actually apply any, but one of the things I do, like when I'm just killing time or like, I have two little kids, but it's just like they're very much like sometimes they're doing stuff and I like don't have like the brain capacity to like focus on anything like legit. But I go on Instagram or TikTok sometimes and just watch like basically people's process videos. I was just like, I feel like in theory, I'm like subconsciously learning things from them. At least I hope so. But there's a lot of people where it's just like, oh, that's like such a cool way to do that. I never would have thought of that. And but then it's like, oh, and I have to go like figure out how they did that. Small details.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's actually been a huge help for me too. It's like if you watch David Finch has a really good channel. He drew a bunch of image books and Batman, and he probably drawn everything at this point.
Yeah.
It's to watch him sit down because he's very good also at explaining what he's doing and why he's doing it. Like, why is his cross hatching going this way or that way? He kind of has a theory about it. That stuff's been real helpful too, because and that's another thing that kind of made things click for me doing physical art a lot better is I could see, you can tell the difference. When I learned to do figure drawing in school, they were just like, your arm should always be moving and it should be scribbly, there should be energy.
Yeah.
It kind of bled through to all my drawing, even when it was the more finished parts. But I was still kind of thinking that way when I get to the inking stuff, and I'd find styles that worked for that, that were a little less reliant on just having this perfect mark or a long arc or something like that. But it's just I think it's just as more information has gotten out there and you can watch videos and eventually one of them clicks for you. That's kind of what at least worked for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm in the phase 2 where it's just like I'd love to like spend more time doing on this. Like, but it's kind of it's tricky with like I feel like I need my kids to be like, do you have kids? Sorry, random jump there. Oh, sorry. I think I lost you or me. Uh-oh. Lost someone.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. It's annoying because I never know which one, like when one of us freezes, I'm like, oh no, is it like freezing on my side and I think I'm still talking? But sorry, I was saying, oh, also, hey Lou, I see you in the chat. If you're still here. But yeah, but sorry, I was saying, do you have kids?
No.
Fair. Oh, fair. So you have time. You have
I
time to be
don't
an
know
artist.
how. I am in awe of anybody that does this. That has. I do not know how you all find the time. It is. It's tough to imagine.
Fair. But it is one of those things though where it's just like I complain a lot about not having enough time to do stuff. And
Mhm.
but I do understand, like I also like I had like one of those, like I was having like it was a while, and I think maybe I try to think if it was when my daughter was born or not. I think it was when my daughter was born already. There's like this book I read, and basically it was like it's kind of like a inspirational art book. It's called, I don't know if you've read it. It's called Big Magic. I forget who the author is off the top
No,
of my
no,
head.
I've never heard of that.
She's the one who writes Eat, Pray, Love, but it's like
Oh,
more
okay.
of like a talks about writing and all that stuff. But basically, she has this like very like tough love moment where she's like, nobody has time. It's just like so it's like you find a way to make time for what's important to you and prioritize things. It's just like I'm like, all right, fine. So it has that thing where it's just like so there's definitely like a few things I've like given up. But yeah, but like sometimes like I just have to watch process videos and not actively try things and hope I just am like absorbing things through osmosis, I guess. But uh-oh. Wha-
Okay. Yeah, I think
Oh, you're back.
I lost you a little bit there, but yeah,
Yeah. Hopefully
I think I can
hopefully
hear you
that
now.
stops.
I hope so. I hope it's. We
Yeah.
had a
Well,
really
and I don't know
bad
who it is.
storm yesterday. Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Usually I can tell, but my window's slow now, and
Yeah.
yeah, we'll
Oh
see.
well. We're still getting through it for
Yeah,
now.
yeah, hopefully, yeah, we had like these sort of brownouts yesterday because we had some rain, but so far today it's been good. So I know it's not that.
All right, all right.
Now I have to remember how this guy's costume looks.
This is I looked up all these, I forget literally all of their names. I looked it up earlier and I'm like, all right, I recognize this guy and this guy, but now I'm like drawing them. I'm like, I don't remember any of their names and like any of their powers. This is like, I
Oh,
think this guy's telekinetic.
yeah, I remember
And
their
then
names and powers, but I don't like if I had to sit down and draw. I'm drawing Night Thrasher, who was my
yeah.
favorite guy. If I had to like draw it out of my head, I couldn't do that. I mean, I
Oh
know what his
yeah.
costume looks like. I have like the idea of what it looks like, but I don't actually know what it looks like. So
Yeah.
I'm doing it this way.
I'm doing like I basically just took a cover and I'm just like replicating it in potatoes. Doing the team mashup.
Nice.
And so this was like a childhood thing. Is this kind of the stuff you're interested in still as like an adult? Like, are you still the
Um,
still the child at
I
heart,
mean,
or
not really. I mean, yes and no. This was just that this was like this book they made targeting like my exact age group. Um, in the 90s. So I connected with those characters and sort of imagined I was like the only one. Like, oh yeah,
yeah,
this is some book that only I like and everyone my age likes it. Um,
yeah,
so I just identified with those characters, which is of course the point of them. I don't really. I kind of came to writing. I was always just an artist up until 10, 15 years ago, I guess. And I was doing a book. I was doing a book with some TV writers who actually did a show called Warehouse 13, and they found a way to do a Warehouse 13 comic and got me on it, and I was not ready for it. But I
yeah,
remember someone asking me at the time in an interview, "Do you ever have your own stuff to write?" And I said, "No, I don't really. I mean, I'm happy drawing stuff." And
yeah,
and thought maybe in a few years I'd have some more life lived and have some ideas. But almost a month after that, I started to get an idea that I really was kind of wanting to do more of this type of book. And it was more visual stuff. I wanted to kind of write the book so I could gear it towards the things I thought would be cool to draw and be appealing and all that stuff.
yeah,
But the story kind of started working around in my head, and this eventually became August, my other book from Your Scarlet Twilight. But yeah, it kind of just came about partially as a way to control what I was drawing, and partially just once I started thinking about stuff, it became difficult to stop.
yeah.
And my other book is about just one super. Both my books are kind of about one character, and as a writer, I'm not sure if I knew or would be able to do like a big character book like New Warriors. I'm not sure if I could juggle all that. I don't. Maybe I'm like the person. We've been talking about how writers should, might make attempts to draw stuff and find some value in that. I guess I'm guilty of thinking, or I know a lot of writers who think, "Oh, I don't know how to draw. I didn't go to school. I need to take these steps to do that." And it's possible I think the same way about some writing stuff. I'm like, "Oh, I need to go to writing school before I know how to juggle a, 7-person cast and subplots and all that stuff."
Oh
So
yeah,
I don't
I see
know.
what you're saying. So I know I had that for so like when I like first started writing, I like wanted to be a novelist, and I basically like had all these like boxes I felt I needed to check before I could like do that. And then I
Mhm.
kind of was just like, you know what, like again, it's just like same with like art. It's just like, or actually, I think of it as almost like more like musicians, where it's like you put out like a solo, and like you're playing like small like pubs or like bars or whatever, like, and then you put out like an EP, or maybe your very first one's like in your garage, and then you self-record it and stuff like that. And like even now, like you can just upload things like directly to Spotify and stuff now. But then like so you do that, but then you get like a little bit better, a little bit better, and like eventually you're like playing full stadiums and stuff, and you're on the radio and like mainstream, or even if you're not mainstream, you're like still have like a big fan base or whatever.
Yeah.
So like I thought it's kind of like came to like writing is that same thing where it's just like it's also like something that you're gonna get better at. So it's kind of one of those things like you can put out your like I never want to call any art cringy, but like I know when you look back on a lot of the stuff, or a lot when I look back on some of my art that I drew back and I'm like, oh god, or even some of the stuff I've written, I'm like, oh god.
Oh yeah.
um,
No, same
but it's
thing.
the same thing where it's just like, but at the time, it's kind of just like honors the process. Where if you just like put it out there, like it is like meaningful to like put your stuff out there and kind of just trust it that it's like honors where you are at that moment in time, I guess. So
Well, especially now that you can just go on Kickstarter, and I think the value of that is not just that you can, essentially crowdfund your book, not do the whole thing. You can gauge to see if there's some interest before you spend 3 years drawing something. But you can
yeah,
also, in addition to that part of it, which is great and such a boon, I think, to independent artists, that's would be hard to imagine 20 years ago. It's just also just that there's an audience of people that are out there on Kickstarter ready to buy comics. That's just a huge thing. So there's really no reason not to be doing
yeah,
it.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's for sure. It's just like if you go into Kickstarter and you're like, "Oh man, not even my mom backed me." It's like maybe this isn't the idea I thought it was. Or
Yeah,
maybe I just need to like go back to drawing board and market it a little bit better, but you never know.
yeah. I mean, that's the nice. I mentioned I had the two books. Of the two of them, August is probably my favorite one. But it
Yeah.
definitely is. And it's kind of 80s. It's stuff that I always thought would be a pretty easy sell around now, but I've always had a lot of trouble kind of getting that one off the ground. We Are Scarlet Twilight is kind of based on old 1930s comics, and there's things for people that like Batman and things like that to be interested in,
Yeah.
definitely. But I always thought that would be the tougher sell by far because it's a little niche, even for superhero fans. There's a lot of people that don't like. I mean, I know a lot of people that are almost just like, I don't even like DC comics. I just like Marvel, or I just like Image, or
Oh yeah,
DC
yeah.
is kind of the stodgy, and this is the oldest, stodgiest stuff they produce. So I thought, yeah, this is not for everybody, and that one's always had a much bigger audience. So you never know what you're going to find,
Yeah.
and that's the nice thing also about Kickstarter is that you just wouldn't get this information anywhere else.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's always interesting like kind of like I know like even some of so like cuz ASAP has a whole bunch of titles. And then like at cons I'm always kind of like I think I'm like now that I've done it now more I like understand why or to some extent I understand why people buy certain titles, but every now and then people still surprise me and stuff. Like we have kind of like our bestseller and like there's one where it's like people really like this for the cover, and then there's some where it's like people really like this for the name. Like there's one that's like people it's just like you have to actually open the book and like show them the inside for, and then people get like more intrigued, or it's like people like this for the premise. Like we have one that's drawn in first person, and like people that always seems to like intrigue people.
Oh,
So
yeah,
like
that is intriguing.
yeah, so there's like some stuff like that, and but yeah, I don't know. It's hard to know. It's always hard to know what's going to hit.
Yeah,
But that's
I
always
have not done. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. I think we
uh,
have a little bit
I,
of a delay there.
no worries. I was just gonna say it. Just like it's pretty cliche, but I kind of always say like if you're into something, someone else is gonna be into that something. At least one other person's gonna be
Mhm.
into it too. So like just
Yeah,
go for it.
no, I agree, and that's there's a big balance I think between deciding what things are, you obviously shouldn't. I don't think many people go on. It's like, all right, what's the most popular type of Kickstarter comic, and what's the genre? What's the main character look like? What kind of names it have? How many pages is it? And just put something together to be that. At the
Yeah,
same time, when you're just completely following some flight of fancy, that you got to find the right balance. That's kind of what I'm trying to do with that. Possibly doing a role playing book for August instead of another comic right away. Is I think
yeah,
I maybe this is a way to do the thing I really like, and hope would, I've had a little bit of trouble getting it to stick in comics. Maybe I can bring a new audience in, and that will be my avenue to doing that. So I think it's kind of mixing and matching your things you want to be passionate about and don't want to compromise on with other, like, okay, but maybe I change up my plan to be a little more commercial in this way. And it's
yeah,
kind of crazy. All these things just didn't exist, a few years ago. So I feel pretty lucky to be doing stuff at this time.
yeah, yeah. Well, and again, like I like when you talk about people who were first on the scene, I guess, with like Marvel and all those things, where it's just like it wasn't easy to break into comics. Like there's like whole I feel like there was like whole seminars. Like I think there's still seminars on like how to break into
Oh, I'm sure.
comics. Whereas but I feel like now it's kind of just like just make a comic, put yourself out there and build up a portfolio and hope someone sees you. It's kind of
Yeah.
like look for openings, make connections, talk to other artists. Like I feel like there's no sure way. Whereas before, like I think there was the whole thing where it's like you have to go to cons and go line up for hours in front of an editor and hope that they look at your portfolio and
Yeah.
all that stuff. Like that's what I heard at least. Like not that I'm an expert by any means.
I mean, I think there's still some of that. I don't really go to a lot of cons or, any, but
Fair enough.
I really should. I went to New York Comic Con once, and it was just like, there's too many people in this room. I don't like this.
I understand that.
And, but I know a lot of other indie creators who are like, oh, yeah, I talked to this editor at a smaller publisher, and that's how I got their email, and that's how I'm doing that. I was emailing with Marvel back in 2006 or 7. No, maybe later than that, 8 or 9, when they had a talent development department and did like the same Avengers pages that everybody does, and the Wolverine, a group of Wolverine pages. It was like, I look back at them; they're not bad, but nothing came of it.
Yeah.
And I kind of went and did them. They're like, actually, we're really looking for somebody that can work with an inker instead of just doing all this stuff digitally. And it's like, well, okay. And it was good, but it wasn't good enough to like take time and develop me, so
Mm.
that's the kind of, when I think of some of my writer friends kind of being frustrated because they have to wait for their artists and they're just ready to go now. I used to feel that way when I was like, oh, I want Marvel to email me back, or I want to, you're waiting for somebody else to do something so you can do your thing. And that was just the worst feeling in the world. So
Yeah.
that's the nice thing about, being able to do stuff on Kickstarter is you can just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. Well, that's like so ASAP Imagination, my like best friend started it. And it was basically like he and his artist friend were basically submitting stuff to like or they had like part of a story like drawn and fully like some sample pages and we're sending it to people and just
Mhm.
it was taking so long to hear back. And it's like, you know
Mhm.
what? Like let's just start our own company. And then
Yeah.
like the artist decided he didn't want to be like and do the business side of it. So like my friend just still started a company and then pulled me in and so I could be part of the business. Yay. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
No,
business
no,
the
totally.
business side of it definitely takes away from the creative side of it a bit.
Yeah,
Like
definitely. I mean,
we
that's also like just I wanted to fulfill this campaign on my own, just kind of to do it. And I
yeah.
probably will do the next one, but I mean, it takes so long to draw a book, and I'm not one of the faster people to begin with. I know a few people. There's a guy named Dave Schwartz who I talked to on my show, who does a book called Confederate Monster, which is like if Frankenstein was around. So it's a great book, and he
I've
does
actually
really
heard of
nice
it.
stuff. Yeah, he does really nice stuff, and he was telling me, "Oh yeah, I can get like 10 pages done in a week or something." I was just like, "You gotta be kidding me with this!"
Like full pages.
and I think he colors them too. I'm pretty sure he's and they're good. They're not. I mean, his style's kind of cartoony, but not. I mean, they're rendered. They're beautiful pages. They're up with anything you'd get at Marvel GC. So yeah, I don't know. It's I'm jealous of that, but I mean, it's hard to kind of bear down and do that stuff, the business stuff we're talking about, when you also like it just takes forever to draw the darn page and all that stuff. In
like,
addition,
who's time for all this?
Yeah. Well, it's also easy to tell, like, oh, I should be drawing the book. I don't have time for this because I need to. It's like, no, you really do need to get up and fulfill the books and do this and that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Here, I'll take
I guess it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, fair. Here, I'll take you to the hot seat for a sec, or for a bit.
Oh, sure.
Got to figure out how to do things. Whoop, not that. Wow, this is why I need them. This should do it. There we go. Look at me pretending I know what I'm doing. Yeah,
it's big so I can see it. Oh, cool! This is like the first issue cover, right?
I think so. Yeah, and I feel like it's like the one that's on Wikipedia. So it's just like, you know what, I'm going for it. And like I said, I did look up all of their names at once upon a time, but I like that you look and tell that it's the first issue.
No, it's
I
one of those
recognize
images
this.
that's just burned into my brain. I'm like, oh yeah, I know that.
Funny. Oh, I feel like I'm ruining it for you.
No, it's cool.
Because like obviously just potatoes, and I'm not going to go like crazy into detail, but I feel on the show I like rarely color, mostly because I rarely have time to color, but also coloring doesn't feel like my strong point. I like inking quite a bit. But it's like, because they're all potatoes, and like I'm just like, well, I don't want to give them like all like, I can't, like the one guy has no shirt and like all of their uniforms and stuff, so I'm just gonna like color them. Like there's gonna be a red and black potato. So that's my big plan. No uniforms, just fully painted potatoes.
Well, I think it works.
Out of context, I feel like everyone's just like, Lori, what are you doing? What is this? Like if it just like pops up just randomly on someone's feed.
And then people who are between 45 and 40 will be like, I exactly know that image. Cool.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It is funny when like people like really like identify with like what you've, especially when like this, like, so like I draw so many just random potato stickers, and like I have, just hold on a sec. Don't want to spill my water everywhere. More. But like the little potato stickers, and like even like the ones that people, again, this is like where it's hard to guess what people are going to choose. I'm always surprised like which ones people do, because I draw like the classic demon potatoes, but then I just have like a cat-tato and a bat-tato and a bear-tato and all these things. And people are unique in what they choose and what resonates with people.
Yeah, you never know. Well, that's just seeing what catches on is always a surprise.
Yeah.
I said I didn't go to a lot of cons, but I did go to a con, and probably going to go this summer as well, called oh my God, I'm blanking. Squonk Fest in Johnstown, PA. Which is, and the squonk is a cryptid who is a really ugly cryptid who, I think the thing is, you'd see him in the forest and he'd be crying because he was so ugly. Then he'd see his reflection in the tears and he would disintegrate because it made him even sadder. So my wife drew a picture of him in like 2013 or something like that, on a blog, and forgot about it. And in the interim, people, the squonk, her image of the squonk, she didn't invent it. It's been around for probably 100. No, I think late 1800s actually.
Yeah.
his first mention of the squonk being seen by hunters and people out looking for bears or whatever they were doing. And this picture became like the picture of the squonk, and it was on memes. And I think Alice Cooper posted it, reposted on Facebook once, had millions of views. So she started making merchandise of her squonk picture,
Yeah.
and that just became hugely popular. We have to send out. I send out like 3 bumper stickers a week of her, or stickers or
No way.
keychains, and that's actually the only thing I've sold at a con, and it was easy because it was such a good story to
Yeah.
tell people and stop them. And I thought, like, how can I apply this to my stuff? Because I just like, hey, I like Star Wars, and I made this comic. It's kind of like Star Wars. Buy it. I don't have like that great story to tell, and I'm trying to think of how I would do it.
Yeah. I always like not that I want hardship in my life or more hardship, but I always feel like it's like, man, I don't have like a sad enough story to like convince like not that you want the pity buys, but like you kind sometimes sometimes you want to like, oh, I'm so sorry that
Yeah,
happened to you. Let me buy your comic. It's just like, can I not just get a couple pity buys? It's like obviously you want people to buy stuff because they like the story, but like there are the moments where you're like, but also just buy it.
yeah. Yeah, and that's another. I will on my Discord. I'll see a lot of like, oh, I sold this many at this con I was at. Everybody goes to those cons. I don't really should try and make an effort to do it. But yeah, I hear people discuss. Oh, I tried doing things like this, or I tried giving away this type of thing for free. So there's a lot of, I guess, interesting ways of going about it that work or don't. But yeah, it's just. I think that's
Yeah.
another. It's a big. And I know some people that talk to on my show that just will like that's almost their primary. Like they did Kickstarters, but they were primarily just selling stuff locally on their like sort of con circuit,
Yeah.
which
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
just to me
there's
is like crazy.
yeah, which again, like I have young kids, so can't just like be away every weekend.
It
My
would be
poor
tough.
husband. So my toddler's top potty training right now. So it's like, sorry, you're now in charge of that. But it's like I know one guy. I think he's basically does a con every weekend, and I'm just
Oh
like,
my
man,
god.
that's
Yeah.
exhausting. Like that's exhausting to me. Like kudos to him, but like and like I would say they like again for like it very much depends on the con and like not everyone is selling the same stories and having the same luck, but like I know for me, like if you can like it depends on the table cost and other expenses and stuff, but like you sell a decent amount of or I can sell a decent amount of books. So like it is
Mhm.
worth it, but then like just time wise and like it does take some serious effort. Like even just like making sure you have all your inventory and setting up your table and all the logistics and like I do like stuff that's very local. Like I don't fly anywhere. Like the longest I've driven so far is like 6 hours for a con, so it's like I don't know. Like it's like a lot of work. So I couldn't imagine just
Yeah,
having
and
to
I
do it like every weekend.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure you'd get good at it, but and that's and plus, I lived in the city until to 2020, so I mean, the idea of lugging that stuff around on the subway or even a taxi is just like forget it. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
And
100%.
the other thing that kind of stopped me was so much of the Comic Con. I like them a lot. The Brooklyn Comics Festival actually is really nice, but it's a lot of zines, it's a lot of prints of like Doctor Who fan art and Adventure Time stuff. It just like not quite what I do. I mean, that stuff's all great. I like it and everything, but it's like, yeah, this isn't quite the right fit. But now that I'm upstate, I'm about 30-40 miles north of the city, and there's some local cons at like Fishkill or something like that, just a small suburb, and that's probably more my speed. So that's on my list of things to do, with like remembering to post on social media every day, and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
all the
Well,
things I ought to be doing.
I will say with the whole like, oh, this isn't like really what I do. One of like the most successful things I did was just like little community Christmas market. Like because it was community, it was like a fairly cheap table. It was 2 days and they like brought in Santa and all this stuff and like had all these crafts for kids, but it's basically like you have people who are like looking to spend money, like they're looking to like buy
Mhm.
gifts for people. And like I think that when you're looking to buy gifts, you're like a little less um like you don't overthink it as much, I guess, because you're like, well, I need to get something. And it's like this is kind of
Mhm.
fun and unique. Like they like comics, they like Marvel movies,
Yeah.
like surely they'll like this. So it's like it's like actually kind of like interesting that way. Like I never would have thought Christmas markets. So I've actually talked to some other like I talked to this other guy at the most recent con I went to. Like he was just like, oh yeah, Christmas markets are where it's at. He's like, I fully recommend them. He's just like, you
Hmm.
just gotta like make your booth like a little bit festive, and then you're good to go. So I'm like, oh yeah.
All
And
right,
like
that is good
same
advice.
with
Actually,
venue.
August is a Christmas story, so like very tangentially, in the
Ah,
same
well
way
there
that
you
like Die Hard or Lethal Weapon is a Christmas story. Um,
yeah, fair enough.
but
Get into that
yeah,
debate.
not a not a bad fit. That's actually I wouldn't have thought of that. The only time we went to this further upstate, there was this like oyster. My wife really loves oysters.
Yeah.
I could do without them, but there's usually something else I can eat.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of expensive, and it was supposed to be this. I think it was distillery that had just started doing it, and so they weren't quite prepared. They got a huge, I think, response, and there was this. They had also put this little Christmas market in that you were supposed to shop at while you're there, and all those poor people. There were like 10 tables, people selling kind of Christmas tchotchkes and stuff gifts, and like nobody. I didn't think anybody even talked to them or looked at them, and I was like, oh wow,
Oh
people are
yeah.
not here to buy stuff. But I think
Fair,
what you're saying
fair.
makes sense. I just wouldn't have thought
So
of that because I saw
yeah.
that horror story.
Yeah, one so I will admit I have been to a couple of markets, not Christmas. I actually haven't done so like I only did that one 2 years ago. And then last year I was over to at the UK with like the my friend who founded the company. So I did like a con with him over there. So I didn't like have time or energy to do more cons here or any markets here. But like I have done other markets and I tend to just try things and I've had some very miserable experiences.
Oh,
I've had markets where I've sold where it's like 8 hours and like you sell one book. And I've had book signings at a bookstore where like you sell one book after 6 hours. And I had at one book signing, like I people were like it was like I was trying to sell timeshares on like a street corner. Like people were like
oh man.
actively like trying to like avoid eye contact with me. I'm like, this is such a strange. It's like this is a bookstore. I'm selling books. It's like why is everyone treating me like I have I don't know, excuse me, like leprosy or something. It's like get away from us. So yeah,
Ugh.
that was like a super weird experience. But unfortunately, like you never know what's gonna stick. And like same thing, like if I hadn't have tried the Christmas market, I'd never known would have known that like the one that was successful, that was like good. And again, like because I was selling comics, it's like I kind of like stuck out because like I was next to someone selling like across from me, someone was selling knitted toques or hats and mitts, and then um beside me someone's selling jewelry, and on the other side they're like homemade jams and jellies and stuff. So it was like a huge unique mix of stuff. And like and I think just because like
Yeah, I've
people are
often
like
thought comics.
oh go on.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. No, I've often thought that that would be a great like you've got that stuff. Maybe it's just like always being dragged when I was a kid to like a sewing store or something. There'd be like one thing that had Superman on it. I'd go look at that. I always thought
Yeah,
like if you had something where it's a bunch of things in comics is like atypical but popular, that would be a good way to go about it.
yeah.
Sorry about that. I keep talking over it. There's like a pause on my end, and I say something,
No,
and then I
no
realize it
worries,
was
that
not a
happens.
pause all around.
It happens, no worries at all. Just lost. I feel like so I have like a tablet, but like I'd not like I'd only use it for drawing, and I like don't use it for like internet and stuff very often. So like I don't have like all my
Hmm.
settings set up properly. So like the screen just like times out all the time, and I'm like, oh my goodness, like one day I need to actually like put some effort into like figuring out how my tablet works, like beyond just drawing. But oh well.
Yeah, I got my iPad just to read comics, and I actually it's super old. It's like 12 years old, but it still does what I needed to do. And
Yeah.
sometimes I would still just find new things. I do. Oh, it does this. That's cool.
Yeah. All right. I think. Oh yeah, I'm mostly done my inking. What a fantastic thing this is gonna be.
I like it.
I feel like, do they have some like do they have, I don't know, I guess maybe like Marvel I feel like doesn't have some motto and stuff, but do they have anything like, because it was a cartoon, right?
It was a comic. If they had a motto, it
Oh.
would be like something very 90s. I don't think they had like, not like Avengers Assemble. No, they don't have anything like that.
Oh, and like I was thinking like Power Rangers, like it's morphin time, or like
No,
with our powers combined. I am Captain Planet, like all those ones.
I don't think they did. They didn't get along very well, to be honest. The guy
Fair.
I'm drawing was the guy in charge, but he was a bit of a control freak. He was kind of like Batman in that he was a rich orphan and he wanted to punish crime. So he got this cool suit and his skateboard and his like ninja sticks. I don't know what you call them. And but these people skills are not, leave a little bit to be desired. So he doesn't get along with everybody
Lacking.
too well.
Yeah.
There was my favorite was a guy named Speedball, who's the guy with the long blonde hair and the blue costume.
Okay.
He was just like this suburban kid. Who just didn't understand what other people, they were all very mismatched, which, very Marvel thing to
Yeah.
do. And yeah, they all had a different background, different, very 90s problems. And yeah, they did not get along too well. All in all, they
Yeah.
weren't like the Fantastic Four or something like that.
Yeah. That's fun though. Don't want people to get along for this stuff. Here, I'm gonna put you
Oh,
back up
cool.
so people can look. This is my here. Before I ruin this by coloring it, I saw some meme recently where it's basically just like there's basically like after I've done my sketch, it's the artist is like all happy or whatever the meme was, and then like it was
Mhm.
just like after I've decided to color my sketch, and it just has them like looking like just distraught in
Oh
a
man,
corner. So I've made some mistakes.
I have looked at some. Because I've just kind of started doing like non-digital stuff again every now and
Yeah.
then, for like my covers and stuff. And I kind of want to color them, and then I know I'd mess it up. And I don't even like, if you look at some of the old 90s comics, Valiant would do, and I think Malibu, which maybe, I don't know if they were related or not, but they have this that was thought of as advanced at the time. It was kind of before computer coloring started, was
Yeah.
widely used. And it had this really watercolory look, which was great because you could have not just the same four colors, and it didn't have to be flat colors, and you could shade things, but it, to me, just looked horrible. I hated it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, even best case scenario, what it would look like. But I did see some Mike Mignola stuff that he'd done, kind of some watercolors in a really cool, not he like a sort of flat color way, but with some slight gradations in it that weren't necessarily trying to describe form.
Yeah.
They would just be like a little bit of red in the skin tone that would just blur out a little bit. And I'm like, that I could do. That would be cool. So I might
Yeah.
get around to doing that one of these days. So,
I feel like that's kind of my preference on how to color is like basically still it's almost black and white and then just like little touches of color. Like I always
mhm.
think I try to think of one of the posters I drew way back when I think it was the shadow. I think the poster it's basically like it's a black poster and then he's just like a white silhouette and then it just has like his red tie.
Yeah.
And just like it's very like Sin City, and I know like one of the artists I work with for one of my stories, he like went like we talked about doing like a very Sin City vibe with it, and like so it's like very black and white, and then so like the main comic is purples, like it's a limited color palette, so it's like the dominant colors are like purple, green, and pinks, and then there's
hmm
still like other like color like there's allowances for like skin tones and all that stuff, but there's kind of like a secondary palette, but so when this other artist basically drew this kind of short story that was related to it, um he he basically did it's all in black and white and then it has little highlights of like pink. It's like really cool.
hmm
This is like, all right, you knew what you were doing with this.
That's cool. Actually, I'm surprised I haven't seen more shadow art that looks like Sin City. Now that I think about it, that would be like a really good fit.
Yeah, I feel like not, and I know like Mike Mignola. I was trying to think. Like, I guess Hellboy has like a pretty like the color palette's pretty much like all there. Like, it almost seems like it has more of a limited color palette, but maybe I'm just making that up.
Yeah, I really like the colors he. I think David Stewart colors most of those, and I think since the beginning. I'm not sure, but
Oh
that's
yeah,
actually like my favorite type of coloring. If it's mostly flat colors, but it still looks modern. It doesn't look like old or like self-consciously retro.
yeah,
But it just works. And I feel like that's like how comics is supposed to look. I like that.
yeah. I like again like I'm no expert or anything, but sometimes I do like it when like things are a little like um less or I guess rendered, is that the word for it?
I
When like
think
people
yeah,
kind of like don't go too crazy with it, because like sometimes I feel like, oh, this is really cool. Like I would like I'm very much like I do the flats for my stuff, where it's just like I feel like a lot of people um like sometimes things almost get like too 3D or something. I don't know how to explain
yeah.
it. Yeah, where it's like
I feel like that really
everyone's
peaked.
shiny and I don't know.
Yeah, everybody looks like they're covered in oil or something. Like it's just
Yeah.
way too much. And sometimes it wouldn't even. And it's I don't know whose fault it would be, but like I think sometimes the inker and the penciler set things up in a way that like doesn't quite work for that. But then
Yeah.
the colorist has got a style of their own, or maybe just an edict to, hey, we want it to look like this other book that's really popular. It's like, well, how am I going to put shadows and like three sources of lighting on this picture? And there's no way to do it.
Yeah.
Um, which you'd see a ton of that, like in the early 2000s, where it was like, okay, everything is colored on the computer now, but like not everybody has figured out how to do it
Yeah.
the right way. And there's still stuff like super over rendered now, but I think it's more. This may be a function of artists just leaving things more open for color and less shading and more line work or more just line art. But
Yeah.
you see less of that where it's like, where the hell is the light source here? They feel like they've ironed it out. At least the Marvel, their
Yeah.
stuff looks. The coloring I think is pretty top notch.
Yeah.
I thought he had more stuff on his belt. I'm trying to find another picture. Oh yeah, he had a whole thing there.
I definitely just winging all this stuff. I have like I have alcohol markers, and like
Mm-hmm.
I don't have like a fully complete set of anything. I know even like I have some like acrylic markers and stuff too, and like there's like a couple of weeks ago I was drawing something. I'm like, I don't have a white acrylic marker. I'm like, that's like the whole reason I like bought this thing. Like whatever.
Does that white out over stuff, or is it just not
It's
exist?
supposed to.
Oh,
Like
okay.
for the alcohol markers, like it's not a thing. Like I don't think you like I think there's like there's neutral colors that you can kind of like blend them together. But for the acrylic markers, it's supposed to just work like acrylic paint, or I think, where you just kind of like paint white over it. You might have to do like a couple layers to like get it to properly work, but
Yeah, I've seen a few other artist friends work with, I forget what the name of them is, Coptic or Copic markers,
yeah, yeah,
which
Copic.
seem like you can do some blending.
Yeah.
They look pretty. I've seen videos where people, I'm like, that looks sort of forgiving. Um, I'm not sure how it would work with the paper I use, but yeah, it's something I'm meaning to try.
It's funny.
Oh wait,
So
it's
like so
Boozy different.
I think these are technically like I actually don't know. So Copic is an alcohol marker and these are an alcohol marker. So I don't know if there's actually any difference. Um but I know that like I've bought something specifically so I could like cuz my sketchbook isn't apparently not great for these markers, but I'm kind of
Mhm.
like whatever, it's just for fun. I'm just going to like keep filling up my sketchbook. But but I feel like sometime I should actually like try the paper I bought and like see if it makes a difference. Cuz it is supposed to like blend decently, and I feel but it also might just be I'm not great at coloring, so like I'm not great at blending to be fair. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, it's on my list of things to do. It's like I'm also just like I hadn't drawn on paper, except for sketches, which I always had done in a long time, until I was doing some sketches to go with one of my Kickstarters. I just threw in the package for a book that got damaged and was resending it to the guy. I thought, oh, I'll throw a sketch in. And I kind of sat down to draw and realized I had, I'm 45 now. This was when I was about 41, I guess. I realized I didn't understand what was happening, but I couldn't focus on the picture as I really got in there. So I got like a magnifying glass. And I'm like, that wasn't it. I was like, oh wait, I haven't done this in years. I've gotten older. I actually need glasses.
Oh, and, fair.
That's how I found that out. I had no idea, but that's as I've gotten back into this a little bit and kind of figured out which pens work for me, and I find something, I stick with it, and then I'll get like, okay, Bristol board is what you're supposed to use, and I've gotten used to that. And I kind of thought, or if I wanted to do something with color, would I want it to be on like watercolor paper? Am I going to be able to figure out how to draw well on that? It's just a whole can of worms. And I'm not necessarily looking forward to getting into.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, like, and part of me is always just like I'm very, I briefly did the like, should I go to art? Should I be taking art classes in schools? And I don't know, go back and learn how to do this if I want to do this. But everyone's just like, just learn how to do it by yourself. But I feel like there's like little tips like that you like. A lot of people can save you a whole bunch of time by telling you something where it's like, hey, use Bristol board. I'm like, all right. Like, whereas like you could struggle and not even know Bristol board exists for like a long time. Like if you're like, obviously, again, like you're saying with like the internet and stuff, like obviously there's way more resources. So like you would hope that you would stumble across that information sooner, but like there's a chance you don't. And you're just like obliviously like making life so much harder for yourself.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's one of the things I was really lucky that I worked at an illustration studio for a few years out of school, is there were guys who had been doing that, for 30, 40 years and at different things. So there would be the one guy that really introduced me to this piece of software he was a traditional artist, but he wasn't that good for like 20 years. And then he kind of, as he got better, also embraced the digital tools, because that kind of enabled him to take some steps that he wasn't really, it was taking too long for him to do, in physical drawing. And he had a million tricks in this program and in just in general using styluses that you'd never learn. And I think he was actually the one that said to me, you learn 3 times as much in the first 6 months of working somewhere than you will in like 10 years of college. And it's absolutely true. But it's just you have to be lucky enough to do it. I was very lucky to have that experience. It's to find an illustration studio is just, it was kind of crazy then. It had been a maybe 80-90 person firm in the 80s that closed down because there was just more and more, you could do more of it faster with computers, and you just didn't need as many people, and the demand was the same. And that had become a different company that was about 7 people when they hired me and another person. And that lasted until 2004 or 5. And then me and a few of the guys just kind of went into business on our own. But that was basically 80 people's worth of work. Oh, I love it. I like Nova, especially.
Is Nova this guy?
No, Nova's the bottom.
Star
the one with the star in his head, which is what I ought to have
said. Fair enough. Like I said, I am showing my lack of my last minute crap. I'm like not great at names unless I like really like have like some very like significant association with something. Like I am like notorious, or it's just like I watch movies and I'll like it's like seen something with like a certain actor in it in like 20 movies. But until I actually like need to know their name, just like couldn't tell you who they are. And people are like, "Oh, have you seen this?" I'm like, "I don't know." And they're like, "Who's in it?" And they like say an actor. I'm like, "I don't know who that is." They're like, "It's this person." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I have seen that." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, I have seen that movie."
Yeah, so I'm always really good at that.
Yeah,
my wife will be like, "Who is that guy?" And I'm like, "Oh, he was fighting this person in that other show that we watched last week." I have a very good memory for that stuff, which is I'm like not that interested in it, but it just stays in my head.
It's one of those things. It's like I wish, but at the same time, it's just like I assume, like, I don't know. It's like, does the brain only have capacities for so much information? Like, I know there's always the joke where when you learn something new, you have to forget something else. Like, I don't know if that's actually a thing. I'm like, if I knew the names of all these actors, it's like maybe I wouldn't know something else important. Who
I think
knows?
once or twice it has come useful in trivia, but other than that, there's no practical application. I would certainly trade that for some useful skill. But what sticks in my head sticks that in like song, like almost any piece of music from the 80s. I'll be like, oh yeah, that's Thompson's. I mean, I'll know like deep cuts. And I think it's
Yeah,
partially because I used to listen to it in iTunes and you'd see the band's name there.
yeah.
I can certainly see why that's stuck in my head, but yeah, it is. I would trade this ability for any number of more practical ones if
It's a
given a
curse and
choice.
a gift. It's funny, I thought that I was like, oh, like I'm just doing like potatoes. Like I can color this and have time. It's like I'm gonna run out of time. I'm gonna just stay behind, do homework, finish these G dang potatoes. I feel like I'm making some progress, but two of them mostly complete.
Oh, I just realized what cover this is. This is the newer New Warriors.
I was gonna say, so even like there was like one character, or when I was like looking at the characters, because one of the original characters I was reading about doesn't appear to be in this. Like
Yeah,
Firestorm? Like
yeah,
Firestorm
yeah.
doesn't look like she's on this cover.
She was
But
like
she was
one of
like
the
one of the
only
original
ones that
ones.
was. Yeah, she was around before that. She was on the cartoon when I was really little called Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and it was Spider-Man who had like a crime lab in his apartment, and he fought crime with his friends Firestar and Iceman from the X-Men.
Yeah.
I'm not sure why they were all friends. They weren't in the comics,
Yeah.
but I think she was like the big star or the more established character. I think Nova had been around a little bit. Night Thrasher was new. Oh god, I'm really testing my 90s comic knowledge here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they made some up and they mixed them in. Silhouette was new, Night Thrasher was new, Nova had been around for a while. The girl that's in the green bathing suit and the blonde hair was Namor the Submariner's cousin. She had been around. And the guy that I think is on the top of your drawing there is, I think, was called Astro Boy, but they might have realized there was another Astro Boy.
Yeah.
And I think he took on the name Justice after I don't know, there was an abusive parent situation. And he went to jail for a while and he tried to join the Avengers. And I think he ended up in the future leading the Guardians of the Galaxy,
Oh yeah,
unless
of
I'm really
course.
mixing up some stuff here. But
Yeah. Yeah. Also I remember, then again, it's just like I remember this guy's telekinetic. That's
yeah, that's
all I
definitely him.
got. Yeah. It's like I recognize him because I recognize his little like I don't know what his headband. I don't even know what it's called. It's a headband.
It's kind of a tiara situation.
Yeah, but it's like kind of like in the drawing. It's like not on his hair. It's more like I'm trying to think of who it'd be like, but I can't think of anyone off the top of my head. But it's more like a headbandy kind of thing.
I'm looking this up now because I can
Okay.
remember what these characters are exactly. And this was they tried to bring it. They're always trying to bring these guys back because there's a lot of affection for them. But
Yeah.
I don't think they're just too silly to work in the modern day
Fair
context. Okay, I've found the image that you're drawing from.
Like I said, did you go to Wikipedia?
Yeah, no, that's just, I
Because
know
that's where I
that
got it from.
I'm familiar with most of these images, and this was an
Yeah.
homage to the one I thought initially that it was.
Okay.
Switch real quick here. Using power. But yeah, I'm trying to see here. I don't know who that person on the top left is.
The one with the wings? Like the yellow one?
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Yeah, the one with the wings?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's like the wasp, but I feel like it shouldn't be. But
let's see here. Zoom in. Yeah, I'm not sure. I think that is Namorita in the middle. Maybe she turned green, but that's more of a traditional fish person look, I suppose. Speedball, my favorite guy, is on the bottom left.
Yeah.
They kind of ruined him though. They had this huge crossover in the 2000s called Civil War, and the inciting event was that Speedball took over the New Warriors, but he was a schmuck and caused this big disaster that got all these innocent people killed. So then that set off the story. But they've all been, I think they were dead after that. They just killed them off, thinking they'd never use them again. I think they brought them back. Maybe Night Thrasher's dead, but his brother is Night Thrasher now. I know Speedball was still alive. I'm not sure about the rest of them. I hope they are.
I hope they're still alive and well.
Yeah, I haven't checked into my old comic book characters in a while.
Yeah, I don't know. It's fun. Like, so for this, like I said, like I'm not very familiar with these guys, even a little bit. But like for just drawing like superhero potatoes, they have like some good like classic like colors and like they're very unique. Because
Yeah,
like
I thought they'd
basically,
be a good fit.
yeah, like it's basically like I'm like drawing them as potatoes. Like you almost have to like character them because you like obviously they're still looking like this guy's starting to look like a Ninja Turtle to me, or this girl. For very obvious reasons. But yeah, you kind of have to like character. So it's just like obviously like color is like a very easy way to do that.
Yeah.
And then like
Yeah,
there's
no,
a few like kind of
they
details where it's like their masks, their whatever's and all that stuff. So
they translate pretty good. I mean, they are. I think that's one of the reasons they were kind of popular is they were really fun character designs.
yeah. So yeah, leave her that color. This girl can be this color.
How do they draw his boot thing there?
All right, so we are out of time officially. So thanks for everyone. Right. Oh man, sorry Lou. This is what happens when Nem isn't here. I missed all your guys' comments. Spudnik, Russian Potato, and their wife Tatiana. Steve Hale. Thanks for stopping in and staying hi. Yeah, sorry guys. Got too distracted. It's hard to keep track of the comments when I'm drawing and talking. This is why I have Nem. But thanks so much for everyone who stopped by, and thanks for anyone watching later after or watching the recorded version. Here, let's show Ben's where Ben's at here too. So definitely go check out his go sign up for his Kickstarter or go follow it, I guess. It's in the comments and it's in the description. And Ben, thanks so much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. This was fun.
Cool. Well, I will kick us out of here. Next week, for anyone who's interested, I think I'm gonna try and draw some poses in anatomy. I feel like that's the natural progression after trying to draw heads. So come struggle with me while I have a lot of kryptonite. And that is one as well. So you can come struggle and learn with me. Same potato channel, same potato time. So thanks guys. See you next time.